Good day to everyone. I would like to welcome you to our session of preview of potential Microapp features for developers. With us on the call on this recording today, we have members from our engineering team, Matyas and Matous. We have a couple of us from product management team, my colleague Chandrika and myself, Danijela, and we have Georgiy, our colleague from product design. Each one of us will speak about these previews, about these features from our respective perspectives. There is a reason why we named our session preview of potential Microapp features. I would like to outline here that everything that you see in this presentation, all the information provided, is for informational purposes only and is not a commitment, promise, or any legal obligation to deliver material code or functionality, and should not be relied upon in making purchasing decisions or incorporated into any contract. Now that this has been said and done, I will walk you through our agenda. For this presentation, we will tell you a little bit about the background and thinking. What was our motivation to go into implementing these features, a bit about the use cases, the problem space that we wanted to address. Then we will take you through API call templating demo, followed by the scripting demo. Those are the two features we want to present to you today. And we will let you know how you can reach out to us for any questions and for feedback to what you are about to see. To take one step back before we dive into these two specific features, I would like to tell you a bit about how do we think when somebody wants to integrate an SOR. Usually a developer would start by integrating using the push API or webhooks as they are popularly called. Of course, this will not work for each and every SOR that is out there. So in case this is not extensible enough, the developers can integrate using our HTTP integration, which I'm pretty sure many of you are familiar with by now. And if this is not extensible enough, the users would have an SDK available that is a high code solution available. And just briefly to comment on the availability of these integration mechanisms, the push API, the webhooks are available since June. The extension of the HTTP integration coming in the shape of API call templating is one of the previews of potential feature adds that we are having on our mind. And then same goes for the scripting, the high code solution that we will show you today. So without any further ado, I would like to take you through the first feature that we want to show today, and that is API call templating. Before the demo, before the real thing that everybody's probably mostly curious about, in this session, I just want to tell you the background. So what is the motivation? Why? What is the problem space and the use cases we needed to address and we want to address with this feature? So we can differentiate between the state as is, how does it work today, and what it's gonna be and why. So at the moment, the as is state is all or nothing. By that, we mean that the whole HTTP request configured for full synchronization is copied as such when admin chooses the data endpoint for data updated before or after action. And this does not work for use cases that need to call a data endpoint during incremental synchronization or data update after action execution with a set of parameters that are different from those ones that you get for full synchronization. So this is the problem space. The solution, or how we approached solving this in our low-code approach, is to allow templating of API call parameters to be able to obtain specific data. This means that the user would be able to template API call parameters for synchronization, incremental sync, and actions. And this means that HTTP integration would be able to call APIs of those SORs out there with advanced data filtering options. To name some names, those are Jira, ServiceNow, Salesforce, etc., etc. And this is the highlight of this bit of the presentation. It will be a demo that is given by our colleague Matyas, who is the lead on this feature.
Hi, I would like to introduce our new feature called templating that should give HTTP integration developers much more flexibility in defining HTTP requests for data synchronizations and also for service actions. To demonstrate that, I created HTTP Salesforce integration, and I want to download account objects using Salesforce object query language. For that, I created a SOQL query, and this SOQL query is sent in the view URL query parameter here. Now I'm in the current version of the form, and you can see that I'm able to define this query, but it has some limitations. Like, for example, if I want to download only accounts that were modified recently, I would have to supply some dynamic parameter inside the query, and I'm not able to do that right now. Also, if I want to configure incremental synchronization, maybe I only want to download accounts that were modified since the last synchronization. And for that, I would have to modify the query that is defined in the full synchronization and supply the value from the last sync there. But right now, I'm only able to add a separate query parameter with the last synchronization time value. In the new form, it looks a little bit different. So I have the same query, but right now it's configured inside this URL field, and query parameters are just conveniently passed to this key value form, but those are just two different views over the same data. So anything I modify here is immediately propagated here and vice versa. So if I want to add a condition to download only recently modified accounts, I should be able to do that now. So let's say, and system is larger than some dynamic parameter since. So I used a templating variable, and now validation is completing about not having this variable set. So I can hover over this and create the variable from here. So we want it to be a date time, and let's say we want to download accounts that were modified months ago. I also need to set date format. So it's this one for Salesforce. Okay, and now I should be able to test it. So we have this new test blade where you can supply any value you want for your templating variables. So in the synchronization, it will be filled correctly, but right now I can put anything there. So let's just put anything there and test the service. And you can see that the value is correctly put at the end of the SOQL query. Now I would like to configure pagination. For that, I need to limit the batch size that Salesforce returns for me. So I will do that by setting up a header. This one, and I want to set batch size. Here, I'm also able to use templating variable. So you can put the batch size in the variable so we can reuse it maybe. Batch size and define this manually. and we want it to be a number of 200, which is a minimum value for Salesforce for some reason. And now I want to use link pagination, and link is provided in next record's URL field. So let's open the test blade now. And you can see that additionally, you can also test the pagination. So you can choose how many pages you want to download for your test. So let's say we want to download 3 pages, and I need to set up some date a long time ago, so I have enough data. Okay, and let's test this. And you can see that I got 3 responses. All of them were successful. And you can see that the header is correctly sent, and the next record's URL is used for the next page request here. Next, I want to set up incremental synchronization. So I will turn it on, and it will create another HTTP request that is copied from the full synchronization, but I am able to modify any part I want here. So let's say that I don't want to paginate because it's not useful for me. And I also don't need the batch size header, even though you can see that the variable that we defined is also reused here. But I don't need it right now, so let's remove it. And I want to modify the query in a way that I only want to download accounts that were modified since last synchronization. So I will create new variable that is called last sync. I need to define its value. So let's create it. And again, I want it to be a datetime, but now I want the value to be a last synchronization time. And I also need to define the format. Okay. And right now, I am also able to test the incremental synchronization request separately. So I can provide whatever last synchronization time I want and test the request. So there is 0 results, but the request is fine, and that's important. I can change it to earlier, so we can get some data. Okay, now I have 18 results. Okay, so let's also generate tables. Set primary key. And I also wanted to show that we can use template variables for call chaining. So I will add child API call. Let's say just an account. And it will be the same endpoint. This one. And I just want to download only one account. So I will add condition that account ID is account ID from the parent query. Let's create. So I want account ID to be a parent column, and I want it to be a parent column ID.
So what we would like to add at the demo you just saw is that this same approach will work for service actions. And a very, very important piece of information for everyone, that all the current configurations will be migrated to this new format automatically after this feature is released. Now I would like to hand over and to invite our colleague from the design team, Georgiy, to tell us a little bit about how did designing and building this feature looked from the user experience perspective?
Thank you, Danijela. Hello, everyone. So here at Product Design, our main goal is to empower you and make your life, everyday job easier and life easier, but in the same time to make it possible for you to create whatever you need with the tools that we provide. So when working on this feature, there are a few things that we wanted to convey and include in it. So first, as you can see in templating, we think it's important to provide flexibility and control. So in this example, we can see that as a user, you can use any input that you find comfortable. If you're used to using just a URL and type in your parameters in there, you can do so. Or if you're more user interface type of person, you can just use more traditional controls as well. So we're trying to maintain this message across the whole experience. Next slide, please. Also, it is important for us to foresee certain situations when things can go wrong and provide you with escape routes or with certain enablers that will help you solve those situations. For instance, here we see in case when variable does not exist, we can offer you to create one right away. Next slide, please. Also, we find it important to not to overload you with unnecessary information. So one of the principles that we've used when working on this feature is to provide context when you need it. So to give an example, we can see an extremely long request URL that you will actually see in full only when you need it, when you're working on it, so that it's not basically creating visual overload in the interface. That will be pretty much all that I wanted to show you. So that's just, let's say, a tip of the iceberg. If you're interested in discussing user experience of admin part of the microapps and integrations, feel free to reach out to us, and we at Product Design at Citrix will be happy to talk about it, and you'll see the ways to contact me and the team in the end of this presentation. Thank you, Danijela.
Thank you very much, Georgiy. That was really great and informative. So this is the point where I would like to hand over to my colleague Chandrika to take you through and to show you what is scripting, what is it about, and why you should be excited about it.
Thank you, Danijela. Hi, everyone. So today I want to talk a little bit about another new feature that we want to introduce in our platform. But before I do that, I want to take you back a little bit and on the vision that Danijela was talking about earlier, and I want to expand on that a little and talk about the journey we've had with integration so far. So when we envisioned this platform, we wanted to have some turnkey integrations available out of the box so that our users could have that experience of a one-click integration with the more common SaaS apps that are available out there, be it like Salesforce, ServiceNow, CRM, ITSM systems. But obviously that's just like scratching the surface of, what's possible with this platform, and which is when we introduce the HTTP integration, which is a more generic way of connecting with an SOR of your choice. And in the past, a lot of development has happened on this platform. You're able to connect to any target system that speaks JSON-based API. There are various authentication methods we support. there's webhooks, of course, which has been in production and available to our users for some time now, and the API core templating, which Danijela and team have just talked about. All this makes the platform really, really powerful, and really expands the potential of what kind of SORs you can integrate with. But every now and then, you need a little extra to make this all work. And which is what brings us to the magic of high code integrations. So what we want to do with this feature is put you, the integration developer, in the driver's seat. We want to give you the control to achieve whatever you need to with your integration, be creative with it, and not be limited by what API the target system speaks, what kind of format it supports. We want to basically break down those barriers. And so we are giving you this toolkit of high code integrations. What does this mean? This means that you will be able to back up your HTTP integration or add a custom script to your integration, which allows you to hook into endpoints and basically do a little bit of request response transformation, so that you can bridge the gap between workspace and the SOR of your choice. And a few things that you will be able to do with this new feature is translate between APIs. So just basic translation between SOAP and REST, between translation between formats. You will be able to transform the data format. So even if you have a SOR that speaks JSON, but it might not exactly send back a schema that is well understood. So you have the potential here now with this feature to modify that incoming response, transform it, and maybe even break it apart into different pieces and pre-process it before it lands into your table, lands into cache. And also, what we've been talking about, materialized views. Sometimes what you want to do is you want to take all this data that's coming in and create your own view of the world and put the data that you need. Basically, you want to have more control over the structure of the table that you create, so that you can have microapps that are more custom to your workflow and not dependent on the endpoint that your SOR provides. But that's enough talking about the feature. What I would like to do is very excited to show you a preview of the potential of this feature. And to do that, I will invite Matous to be the presenter.
Thanks, Chandrika. In this demo, I will show you how developer will develop and implement scripts on his local machine, how the scripts are uploaded to the Microapp server, and how Microapp server uses these scripts to execute synchronization defined by the script. So each developer that wants to get into the Microapp server scripting business will first have to download the script SDK. Right now, this SDK is an internal preview. We hope that we will release it soonish. The SDK contains documentation, of course, and a console script runner, which enables you to run the integration scripts locally on your machine, test them, debug them, and after you are happy with it, you take the script, upload it to the Microapp server, and continue there. So the scripting feature, or the script, is implemented as JavaScript. In the JavaScript language, we are using Georgiy JavaScript engine, which is fully compatible with the ECMAScript 2000 with specifications, or sometimes referred to as version 11 or ES11. This is a simple demonstration of the script, which downloads tickets and projects from Jira instance. So the script can be divided into two sections. One is the integration or script definition section, which defines the synchronizations and tables that this script actually implements. So this script implements two types of synchronizations. One is downloading the tickets, and the other is downloading the project. On the Microapp server, these synchronizations will be executed in parallel. So at the same time, we will download the tickets and also the project. The integration also defines the model. So the tables and table columns, and the script then uses these tables to store the data that the script fetches from the external SOR. So let's take a quick look at the synchronization implementation. This function fetches the tickets from Jira's server. It will receive as an argument two instances, data store and a client. Client is the only way that can be used to perform an HTTP query to the SOR. So we use it to execute a search, post request, and we parse the response, we transform the response and extract only the information that we are interested in. And after we are happy with the data, we save it into its model. Then we continue to the next page. So the Jira provides us, Jira REST API provides us the data in a paginated form. So we take the first page, and then we continue to the next page until we fetch all the data and store it in the cache. We can also use some external libraries. In this case, we use Voldrich and moment time zone Voldrich to transform the arrays, and moment time zone to transform received data into JavaScript dates. So you will have some of these libraries at your disposal. So Voldrich, moment time zone, XML.js to parse XML output or response of the external server, and several more. So let me show you a quick demonstration how these scripts can be executed using the console scripter. So in this example, I'm executing the tickets synchronization with the configuration file config.json. This configuration file contains the basic authentication headers, so login and password. And lastly, I specify the script that I want to execute. That's the Georgiy. So let's execute it. And you can actually see what the script is doing on the console. So the script is each HTTP request is printed to the console, and each store operation is also printed to the console. So you are able to follow the script execution. The console output in the script is also printed to the console. Note that you can redirect the output of the data store into files. So in case if you have lots of data being downloaded, you can inspect it later in a normal file, in a CSV, in JSON, XML format. So let us execute one more example. For example, the project synchronization from the same script. It's much more simple. I will just fetch one page of data and store it into the data store. And you have it. Now let me show you how you would debug the script using the Chrome debugger. So one needs to add a special console parameter helicopter inspect equals true, and in this case the console runner on its start waits for debugger connection. So let me open debugger, and the debugger stops on the first line. So I already have some breakpoints added from previous debugging session. So just continue with the script execution. Now it's up. Okay. And I can step through the program as I need. I can, of course, see the console output that just prints to standard out or to the console, and I can inspect the variables. Let me disconnect. The script can continue. And now let's move to how will the script work inside of the Microapp. So I already have a Jira HTTP integration set up. Right now it contains some data endpoints, and I will add the additional endpoints defined by the script by going to the new scripting section in the configurations section. So let me quickly upload the script. As you can see, the script was parsed, the metadata was extracted, and I can see that the script defined two synchronization tickets and projects and the tables with second name. Let me import the script. The script is displayed here. You can view it in a larger window if you like. Right now, the script is not editable. In order to update the script, you will need to hit the update button and re-upload it. Eventually, we will allow the user to modify the script inside of the Microapp server. So the script defines two synchronizations. These synchronizations can be seen also in the data loading sections as a selected endpoint, the project, and the tickets. And they already can synchronize the data. So let me launch the synchronization of the HTTP integration that containing the script. It's done. Let's see the result. If we go to the tables, the script defined tables, projects, and tickets, and we can see that the data was properly downloaded. So that's it for the demo. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the demo. This brings us to the end of this session, and all of us you've just heard would like to invite you to engage and to talk to us, to ask us any questions and give us feedback on what we've just shown to you. You can do that at the Converge Slack. We will be on the channel App Creation and Collaboration. You can tag us by tagging the DII team. And of course, separately, if you would like to engage with Georgiy, our designer, and speak specifically about user experience, you can see his handle here on the screen. I would like to thank everybody for the attention and the time you gave us. And of course, to the whole round that participated in preparing and doing this session for everyone. So Chandrika, Matous, Matyas, Georgiy, thank you very much.